Today we're going to be analyzing the movie titled The SpongeBob SquarePants Movie. First of all, we're going to be introducing the characters here. Obviously, we have SpongeBob. Then we have Patrick Star, his best friend. Then there's Mr. Krabs, the founder and owner of the Krusty Krab. Then there's Plankton, Mr. Krabs' rival, who owns the Chum Bucket just across the street from the Krusty Krab. Then there's Karen, his computer wife. Then there's King Neptune and his daughter, Mindy. And then there's Squidward, the Krusty Krab's cashier. Spoiler alert, we're going to be breaking down and analyzing the entire movie, so if you don't want the movie ruined for you, or if you want to go watch the thing first, go do it. You were warned. So the movie starts with a pirate segment where they find a treasure, and inside the treasure chest there's the tickets for the movie. Then the story starts with Mr. Krabs is opening the Krusty Krab 2. SpongeBob is hoping he'll be promoted to manager. At the ceremony, he's let down as Mr. Krabs promotes Squidward. Mr. Krabs tells SpongeBob that Squidward is more mature and that he's just a kid. SpongeBob's upset. Meanwhile, Plankton's lamenting over his failed attempts to steal the Krabby Patty's secret formula and take over the world. Then Karen, his computer wife, reminds him of the Plan C, the last evil plan he has. Plankton grabs the Plan C file, and upon analyzing it, he starts drooling all over it.
See? Plan Z, here it is! Just like you said!
Oh, boy.
Oh.
That same night, Plankton carries out the plan. He steals King Neptune's crown, sends it to Shell City, which is the Forbidden City, and leaves a note in the name of Mr. Krabs, framing him for the heist. At the same time, SpongeBob and Patrick were supposed to celebrate SpongeBob's promotion at his favorite restaurant, Goofy Goober. Instead, he drowns his sorrows in ice cream with Patrick. Next morning, they're both hangover and SpongeBob's late for work. Meanwhile, King Neptune arrives with his daughter at the Krusty Krab, looking for Mr. Krabs. Mr. Krabs thinks King Neptune's gonna spend a fortune on his business, when King Neptune starts demanding his crown back. Mr. Krabs truthfully tells him he doesn't know what he's talking about. That's when King Neptune shows him the note signed by him. We know it was Plankton, but Mr. Krabs starts panicking when the phone rings. The caller identifies himself as Clay, the buyer of the crown who sent it to Shell City, therefore sealing Krabs' fate.
But this is crazy! I didn't do it!
Ahoy! This is Eugene Krabs. Leave a message. Hi, Mr. Krabs. This is Clay, the guy you sold Neptune's crown to. Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks again for selling me the crown. Neptune's crown. I sold it to a guy in Shell City, and I just wanted to say thanks again for selling me the crown. Neptune's crown. Which is now in Shell City. Goodbye.
SpongeBob arrives and badmouths trash talks Mr. Krabs. Based on what SpongeBob said, King Neptune decides he's gonna cook Krabs. That's when SpongeBob sobers up and tries to convince King Neptune that he'll retrieve the crown from Shell City. King Neptune's daughter, Mindy, convinces him to give SpongeBob a chance. Neptune agrees, and Neptune freezes Mr. Krabs and demands SpongeBob to return with the crown within 6 days to spare Krabs' life. Mindy warns SpongeBob of the dangers of Shell City. She warns them about the Cyclops, who capture innocent sea creatures. SpongeBob and Patrick hit the road in the Patty Wagon, a Krabby Patty-shaped car.
Goofy, 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 ah!
Fill her up, please.
What'll it be, fellas? Mustard or ketchup?
Are they laughing at us?
No, Patrick. They're laughing next to us.
On her way to Shell City, SpongeBob and Patrick encounter multiple circumstances that almost make him give up. Plankton sends a hitman called Dennis after SpongeBob and Patrick. Even though everyone considers SpongeBob and Patrick just kids, he doesn't want to risk it, as he knows that even the most minuscule chance they might have, if anything, is a huge risk to his plan. And that slim to none chance was the thin line between him succeeding or failing. With Mr. Krabs frozen, Plankton steals the secret Krabby Patty formula and starts using it at the Chum Bucket, his own restaurant. Because Mr. Krabs is frozen and SpongeBob is on his way to Shell City, the Krusty Krab is closed, which means that all the regular customers, Krabby Patty Krusty Krab customers, now eat at the Chum Bucket since they now serve the same Krabby Patties. Because of this, Plankton gifts every customer a bucket hat, a souvenir helmet. Everything goes Plankton's way, and within a couple days, every single Bikini Bottom resident has got a bucket helmet, and they all wear it, except for Squidward, who finds out Plankton stole the crown and the secret formula, the Krabby Patty formula. He confronts Plankton at the Chum Bucket just to make himself a target. Immediately, Plankton pulls out a remote and activates it, which turns on every bucket helmet, seizing control of every user's mind, which is basically everyone in town. With this, he enslaves everyone. A zombie slave mob forced Squidward into submission, and he becomes slaved as well.
We'll see about that, Inspector Loose Lips.
Now activating helmet brain control devices.
What? What's going on here? Seize him, slaves! All hail Plankton! Get out of here! All hail Plankton! Who can stop me now?
SpongeBob and Patrick see it for themselves.
Oh my gosh! Patrick, look! Plankton's turned everyone we know into slaves! Squidward? Sandy? Mrs. Puff? Even Gary.
SpongeBob and Patrick lose the paddy wagon on a trench, and Mindy appears and convinces them that they've become men. Then they come face to face with Dennis, the hitman, and just before stomping them, a giant boot steps on him, saving SpongeBob and Patrick. But then they just realize it's one of the Cyclops that Mindy had warned them about. Turns out the Cyclops are divers, and Shell City is a souvenir store that the divers supply with sea creatures just like them. The Cyclop prepares to dry them so he can sell them later. They find the crown, and while they're being exposed to the drying lamp, they realize how much they accomplished. They think it's the end, so they sing their song, their Goofy Goober song, and before the lamp dries them, they shed some tears that run through the lamp's wire and enter the power outlet, short-circuiting the lamp, which smokes and activates the emergency sprinkler system, which revives them, as well as the rest of the sea creatures that the Cyclops sells. The Cyclops comes back and realizes what happened. All the sea creatures beat up the Cyclops, and SpongeBob and Patrick get the crown and head back to the shore so they can go back home. They meet David Hasselhoff, and he gives them a ride back home. They arrive exactly as Neptune fires at Krabs, deflecting the fire beam with the crown, saving Krabs. Plankton witnesses everything and sarcastically congratulates SpongeBob. He isn't worried that they made it back. He drops a giant bucket helmet on Neptune's head and immediately seizes control of his mind. Plankton thinks he's won, as the only people that haven't been enslaved are SpongeBob, Patrick, and Mindy. Plankton brags about how he won and they lost. SpongeBob rants and Plankton panics as smoke starts emerging, and SpongeBob's Goofy Goober concert begins. SpongeBob then becomes a wizard, or dresses as one, and starts playing his Goofy Goober guitar, which then fires a light beam that destroys the bucket helmets one by one. Then he strikes an antenna that reaches every individual in town. As this happens, Plankton panics and orders Neptune to attack, but before he can finish his command, SpongeBob destroys Neptune's bucket helmet. Now Plankton knows it's over. At the end, they arrest Plankton and SpongeBob is promoted.
All right, that's the last straw. Neptune, I command you to...
Here you go, Daddy.
Hey, you better get out of here.
Look, it's the wizard who saved us.
Out of my way, fools.
To recap everything, every coup or takeover starts with a plan. Then a false flag follows. Then mind control is needed to enslave everyone. And almost at the end, where everything seems lost, the people that everyone underestimated end up making a difference, and they clutch the situation. Thanks for watching.